is Terrence Copper, NFL veteran.
It's your boy DC Goldie.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Bud Supreme.
DJ Johnson, wide receiver for East Carolina University.
It's Jordan Adams with the Los Angeles Angels.
Packard, baseball player for the Detroit Tigers, and you're watching Good Talk.
Good talk.
Good talk.
Good talk.
It's good talk.
I'm gonna chase you out of earth. Lucifer, dawn of the morning.
I'm from the murder capital where they murder for capital.
Lucifer, dawn of the
Time.
morning. I'm gonna chase you out of earth.
You a genius, nigga.
Huh?
Lucifer, dawn of the morning.
So you niggas change your attitude.
But they asking what happened to you.
Lord forgive him.
Woo.
He got them dark forces in him, but he also got a righteous cause for sending them to murder me.
So I gotta murder them first.
Emergency, doctors performing procedures.
Jesus,
I ain't trying to be facetious, but
vengeance is mine, said the Lord.
you said it better than all.
Yeah.
Niggas on death
Welcome to
row,
the Good Talk
reaping
Podcast.
Ball Raiders for killing my best ball.
High energy today. A lot to get through. NFL review.
Backbends, fly in some
This past weekend, Super Wild Card weekend.
sugar by D'Angelo.
Hell of a weekend in football.
Like an advance.
I did not move from my house very much, I'll be honest.
When you closer
I was on the couch in my bed just watching football all weekend, yo. Phenomenal weekend, and of course we do have our divisional round coming up. A couple of NBA scores we'll get through. You know what time it is, man. Like I said, I got high energy today. Try to be as quick as possible, but we'll see. I don't know. I got a lot to get off my chest because y'all fucked around and let me go undefeated in a wild card round. I'm feeling like I'm hotter than ever, bro. And y'all gonna be hating on my picks again this week. I already know it. How about them Cowboys? Woo!
Spread love to all of my dead thugs. I pour out a little Louis to a head above. Yes, sir. And when I perish, the meek shall inherit the earth. Till that time is on and poppin'. Church, like Don Bishop, the fifth of Palm Cock Eva. Lift up your soul and give you the Holy Ghost. Please, I leave you with somebody's cathedral. But stunting like Evil Knievel. I let you see where that bright light leads you. The more you talk, the more you irking us. The more you gon' need memorial services. The Black Album, second verse is like devil's pie. Say some dessert for us. Man, I gotta get my soul right. I gotta get these devils out my life. These cowards gonna make a nigga ride. They won't be happy.
Again, welcome. I am your host, JJ. This is the Good Talk Podcast. I appreciate you all for being here. If you don't already, give us a follow on socials. Rewind it back to the beginning. I'll give it quick rundown real quick again. IG at G2S Good Talk Pod, at Goodies and Two Shoes, and YouTube at the G2S Network. And again, that is on YouTube at the G2S Network. If you are watching on YouTube, I appreciate you for being here. If you would like, comment, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. And thank you. I appreciate you all of you for being here. As always, I'm happy to be back, man. Happy to be back. It's an honor as always. Big day for me tomorrow. I was a guest on this week's episode of the Little River Podcast. That will be releasing again tomorrow, January 21st. And it's great content, man. Great content. Shout out to the guys over there. Shout out to Jan. Shout out to Turb, Tuna. And I'm going blank on my other guy's name. I apologize. I hope you don't hate me. It's nothing personal, I swear to God. But yeah, man, again, shout out to the Little River Podcast. I will be on that episode again. That will be releasing tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. And yeah, man, so we're going to jump right into it over here at the G2S Good Talk Podcast, man. We have our in-depth playoff review from this past weekend. Then we'll go back to our in-depth playoff preview of this weekend. A lot of big games, a lot of intriguing matchups for me. I'll go ahead and tell y'all I have a lot of underdogs. This week, so I'll give you my logic on that. And yeah, we'll just keep it rolling. We'll go through our game of the week. It'll be relatively quick just because we do have our playoff talk for the NFL. But again, we'll go through our game of the week. We'll give our Ass Out Award, the best thing I saw this weekend, and then we'll do our mailbag as well. So full show. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Here we go. So let's go to our scores from last night. We're going straight NBA because, again, we'll dive into our playoffs a little bit later on in the show. So let's go straight NBA today. I'll give you a couple scores. Here we go. Indiana, beat the Los Angeles Lakers 111-104. 20-12 and 10 for Sabonis. He had a triple-double on 9 of 12 shooting. Outstanding game from him. Karis LeVert put up 30 and 8. Big spark from him as well. 19-4 and 6 from Malcolm Brogdon on 50% shooting as well. For the LA Lakers, LeBron James put up 30 points, 12 rebounds, had 5 assists on 50% shooting, went 3 of 7 from the 3. Russell Westbrook continues to struggle as he goes just 5 of 17 from the field, 14 points from him, 14 points from Carmelo Anthony off the bench. He also added 7 rebounds, 50% shooting from him, 0 of 5 from 3, so that's not good for the Los Angeles Lakers. Carmelo Anthony really throughout this season has been one of their more consistent shooters as it pertains to three-point field goal percentage. He is coming back off of an injury. He missed 2 or 3 games, so we could attribute that to the injury. But again, that's not good for the LA Lakers as they continue to lose, falling to the Pacers last night, 111-104. Here we go. Let's move on. The Rockets upset the Jazz, 116-111 in Utah. 16 and 3 from Eric Gordon. Christian Wood went for 13 and 15, double-double for him. So round of applause for the young guy. Kevin Porter put up 15 and 8. 23 points for Matthews off of the bench on 50% shooting. For Utah, Rudy Gobert 23 and 9 on 9 of 13 shooting. So a solid game from him. We don't really necessarily look to him to score points. He's more of an interior defender. So anytime you get points from a big, that's always gonna, look good on the stat sheet and help your chances to win. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough last night against the Houston Rockets. 29-5-1 for Bogdanović. So great game for him as well. And then 19-4-4 from the microwave off the bench, Jordan Clarkson. Let's take a look at our standings. So let's see where that puts the Utah Jazz. They're still currently at number 4. They have lost 2 straight, 6 games back out of that lead, in which Phoenix holds as of this very moment. So we'll continue to keep our eye on that, the standings and how they move. We have All-Star Weekend coming up relatively soon, so there's going to be something to look out for as time goes on. Big game last night. This was the bigger game, probably the biggest game of the night last night. The Memphis Grizzlies and the Bucks. The Bucks did go home with the advantage, 126-114, as they defeat young studs out in Memphis. Let's see, Ja Morant had 33, 8, and 14. Hell of a game from him. 29 and 9 for Jaren Jackson. Steven Adams didn't really do much last night, 4 and 11 on 2 of 8 shooting, so he struggled. Clark came off the bench with 14 points, 6 of 9 shooting. So pretty solid game from Memphis as it goes based on the stat sheet once again. Just not able to get it done. For the Milwaukee Bucks, for the winning team, Chris Middleton, 27, 7, and 7 on 10 of 18 shooting. Solid night for him. 14 and 9 for Bobby Portis on 6 of 11 shooting. And then for the Greek Freak, 33, 15, and 7 as he puts the Bucks on his back once again, leading them to a victory over the Memphis Grizzlies. So we'll make sure, basketball is going to start heating up. Every time, football season is on the borderline of being over, that's when basketball season really gets going for the average fan or whatever may have you, a fan that is more interested in the NFL more so than the NBA, whatever may have you. So the NBA is about to start ramping up, so that we're going to be keeping a close eye on what is going on around the league. And you will be getting a little bit more NBA talk from me as we go a little bit further in the playoffs, probably next week, or the following week, when we have our NFC and AFC championship. After that game concludes, that's probably when I'll start jumping more so into the NBA and we'll start diving into some of our stories as it pertains to that. Let's see, we'll do one or two more here. Chicago Bulls beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 117-104. They still are without Zach LaVine, so that's a huge win for the Chicago Bulls. They did it on the back pretty much of DeMar DeRozan, who had 30 points, 2 rebounds, and 7 assists on 14 of 24 shooting. Vujacic also added 24 points and 12 rebounds. So a good win for the Chicago Bulls. We know that they've lost a couple of big games in prime time. They had one against Golden State last week. They also had one against the Brooklyn Nets last week. They lost both of those games, and a lot of the NBA community were turning their back on the Chicago Bulls. I was one of the ones that stood fast in my belief that they are a solid team. They are a solid team. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. I think at one point last week, it was up to 7 or 8 guys that they had on the report, on the list, that were not able to go, not able to play in their competition. So with that being said, everybody pump your brakes on the Chicago Bulls. They are okay, and they will overcome the challenges that they're dealing with right now, and they will be a threat to come out of the Eastern Conference. So make sure that you're tuned into them. Don't sleep on them. They still have their guys. They still have Lonzo. They still have LaVine, DeMar, Vujacic. They still have their guys. They do. They have dogs, and they have guys that want to win basketball games, that ultimately want to win a championship, and they have heart. All of them have heart in Chicago. So don't sleep on them. Don't write them off quite yet. They still have some work to do, but with that being said, they're solid. They're solid, so you don't have to worry about them. Here we go. We got one more. There it is. Here we go. The Clippers and Nuggets. Great game for them as the Nuggets win against the Los Angeles Clippers 130-128. And overtime, phenomenal game again. Reggie Jackson, 28, 3, and 12. Double-double for him, 12 of 22 shooting. Zubac had a crazy game, 32 and 10 on 15 and 19 shooting. They couldn't do anything with Zubac at all. I mean, just an outstanding performance. Then they had 16 off the bench from Boston and 13 off the bench from Bledsoe. For the winning team, the Denver Nuggets, Twin had 19, 9, and 9. On 9 of 20 shooting, just a little under 50% there. He did go 0 of 4 from 3. So that's something that he'll want to kind of tighten up on as time goes. But that's neither here nor there. Aaron Gordon, 28, 4, and 3 from him, and 10 of 16 shooting. And then Nikola Jokic, 49, 14, and 10. A lot of people are making this a two-man race. I was one of those people that was making this MVP race a two-man race. But Nikola Jokic has had something to say about that. He's having a hell of a season. I want to say let's take a look at his averages real quick, just so I can make sure I'm spot on with that, because he's putting up another MVP-like season. God honest truth is, a lot of people didn't feel like he deserved the MVP last year with the way that Steph Curry was performing, but nevertheless, he won it. And Nikola Jokic right now, I mean, my God, 26 points, 14 boards, and 7 assists, and really you can round that 7.4 up to 7.5. Hell of a year from Jokic. So again, don't make this MVP race a two-man race. I fell victim to that. And when you look at the stats, that's just not the case. If Jokic can continue to do this, it's going to be hard for the committee not to give Jokic MVP, his second MVP in the same amount of years. It's going to be extremely difficult. Again, it is not a two-man race. We have seen Steph Curry struggle a little bit recently. So again, we're going to want to keep our eye on that. Again, Steph Curry, he's been struggling a little bit, dealing with the injury now. I think he messed up his finger or whatever may have you a couple nights ago. And then on top of that, Kevin Durant is also down with the injury. So to me, I apologize. To me, the MVP race is wide open. I'll be honest. The MVP race is wide open. Got guys like Ja Morant. You got guys like LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid. A round of applause for him too, because I don't want the game that he had last night to go under the radar. 50 points from him. I mean, he just looked like a guard. He really did. He stepped back, going in between his legs, Euro, and hitting the ground just like a guard. He looked like a guard last night. 50 points from him. But with all of that being said, this is no longer a two-man race. It was almost guaranteed that he was going to be either Kevin Durant or Steph Curry. But now with the level that these other guys are playing with, again, a Ja Morant, a LeBron, a Jokic, a Embiid, those guys have to be mentioned. Those guys have to be in the conversation. So as time goes on, we must continue to watch that very closely to see who will be blessed with that award. And it's not as clear cut as we thought towards the beginning of the year. It's not. So it's very intriguing to me. Something to keep our eye on. Again, we'll just go through the standings real quick because I feel like, again, we haven't talked much about the NBA since the NFL playoffs has been going on. Matter of fact, since NFL has been going on, really, we haven't touched much on the NBA. So I'll give you the top 8 seeds as of right now in both conferences. Let's take a look at the Eastern Conference first. We have Chicago, Miami, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Philly, Cleveland, Charlotte, and Washington. Those are the top 8 seeds for the Eastern Conference. Then for the Western Conference, we'll take a look here. We have Phoenix, Golden State, Memphis, Utah, Dallas, Denver, Minnesota, and LA just sneaking in there at that 8th seed. So very, very interesting. A lot of storylines going on in the NBA right now. Again, I'll kind of leave that for when the NFL has concluded or when the NFL slows down a little bit more. Then that's when we'll fully dive into the NBA because y'all know I love me some NBA. So we will get to that as time goes on. We will. All right, let's see what we have here. Let's go ahead and jump into our game of the week. Excuse me. Let's take a look at that real quick. So for our game of the week, last week we had the Bills and Pats. I took the Bills by 10. We all know how that turned out. Bills won by 30, absolutely dominated. Bill Belichick came out punching New England in the mouth. They move on to the next round. So I'm gonna do something a little bit different, I guess, in comparison to the last couple of weeks, I'll say. A little bit different. We'll go over to the NBA this week for our game of the week. Nets and Lakers on Tuesday night. That will be held on TNT. I have the Nets by 5. I have the Nets winning that game by 5. That will kind of, I won't say it will do anything necessarily for me as it pertains to changing my mindset on the Lakers, because at this point, I kind of know what I'm going to get from LA. They'll play well. I think they'll play well, but I think they'll lose. It's pretty important. It's almost imperative that Anthony Davis comes back within the next 2 to 3 weeks. God honest truth, because if they continue to keep playing the brand of basketball that they're playing right now, it's very possible. And I mean, I don't even know how this is about to come out of my mouth, but it's very possible that the Los Angeles Lakers don't even make the playoffs. And that's sickening. God honest truth, that's sickening. On the other side of things, we have the Brooklyn Nets. I mentioned earlier that Kevin Durant did go down with the injury, and we'll dive into that a little bit. Actually, we'll just take a look at it right now. Kevin Durant has been diagnosed with a sprained MCL in his left knee, and the Nets announced that the estimated timetable is 4 to 6 weeks. So they will not have Kevin Durant in that matchup. Also, it's going to be interesting to see how Brooklyn is able to overcome that obstacle, because he is one of the best players in the world at the game of basketball. So that's a huge hit. That's a huge hit for the Brooklyn Nets. So we'll have to take a deep look at how Brooklyn is able to respond. They do have James Harden and they do have Kyrie Irving now. I'm not sure if he's going to be participating in home games still at this point. Even though he did get the green light with the stipulation that he would have to pay the fines or whatever. But they do have Kyrie and they do have James Harden. So we'll see if the Brooklyn Nets are able to kind of stay afloat as it pertains to their standing in their current seed in the Eastern Conference. So this is a huge matchup for both teams, in my opinion. It'll test Brooklyn to a certain degree to see how they fare off against teams with names. I won't say a good basketball team or whatever it may have you, but the Los Angeles Lakers nevertheless do have names. They do have LeBron James. They do have Carmelo Anthony. They do have Russell Westbrook, all at their disposal at this very moment. So it'll be interesting to see how that team, the Brooklyn Nets, will approach that game without their superstar and Kevin Durant. So again, I think the Nets will win that game by 5. So we'll just have to, we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But it'll be an intriguing matchup, in my opinion. It will be an intriguing matchup. Again, prime time on TNT Tuesday night, Nets versus Lakers, and the Lakers will be home in the crypto arena for that matchup. So very intriguing matchup to me. Let's move on to our sports news. I have a couple of things here that we'll take a look at, and then we'll move on to our goodie of the week. Let's see here. The Atlanta Hawks traded forward let's restart that. The Atlanta Hawks traded forward Cam Reddish to the New York Knicks for a deal that includes a protected 2022 first-round pick via Charlotte. The Knicks also acquired Solomon Hill and a 2025 second-round pick via Brooklyn in that trade. So the Duke brothers are back. You have RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish out in New York now. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm not sure if Cam has played a game yet. This trade happened I want to say this trade happened like right after we got off the air on Thursday. Either happened on Thursday or Friday. So this is kind of old news at this point. But it is still something that I wanted to highlight as it pertains to that. We do have our deadline coming up February 10th. So make sure that you're tuned into that. Make sure you have your notifications on Twitter turned on for Woj, because he is going to get you all the information that you need. Woj and Shams, those are the two guys that I follow to stay up to date on that trade, the trade news, and pretty much just any news that's occurring in the NBA. You're going to want to have your notifications turned on for that, because I suspect that this will be a very, very active trade deadline. I've been seeing a lot of deals being attempted already, specifically as it pertains to Ben Simmons. The Philadelphia 76ers really, in my opinion, are just delusional. There's been a couple of deals that have been proposed to them that have been absolutely phenomenal, in my opinion, because just off rip, you're gaining the advantage because the guys that you're getting in return are available to play. Ben Simmons does not want to be a Philadelphia 76er and has made it abundantly clear that he's no longer going to step on the court for them. So off rip, you're gaining an advantage because you're getting guys in return that are going to be able to suit up. And then some of the names that I've been seeing that teams have been trying to send over to the Philadelphia 76ers, the fact that every time, a deal is proposed to them, they're not interested. That's what the report is. The 76ers are not interested in that deal. The 76ers lost interest when they added Tobias Harris. I saw that report yesterday. So, I don't know what the 76ers are holding out for. I don't know what they're holding out on. I really don't believe that they're going to get the deal that they think they are. And that's where the disconnect is right now with the 76ers and the rest of the NBA. The 76ers have Ben Simmons valued way, way through the roof. And in all actuality, what we saw from him in the playoffs last year, given he did have some solid games in the playoffs, but for the overwhelming majority, what we saw in the playoffs last year really damaged his stock. It really did. It damaged his stock. So now you're at the point where you're at now, where it's hard to move him. Well, I wouldn't even say necessarily it's hard to move him, but it's hard to get the value that you think you're going to get for him if you're the Philadelphia 76ers. And to me, they're making a huge mistake, because there have been a lot of deals that have come across their table that I would have taken in a heartbeat. I'll just be completely transparent with you. Now, maybe that's not why, excuse me, maybe that's why I'm not a NBA GM, but I don't know. I don't know what they think they're going to get. I don't know who they think they're going to get. They're not going to be able to just blast somebody over the head for a Ben Simmons trade, because people in the NBA are not going for that. They're not fooling anybody but themselves in all reality. So we'll have to keep our eye on that. That's going to be an intriguing story as time goes on and as we get closer to that deadline. We went over Kevin Durant already In other NBA news, last night LeBron James became the first player in NBA history with 30,000 points, 10,000 rebounds, and 9,000 assists. LeBron James is also just 92 assists away from eclipsing 10,000 assists as well. So he is the first player of all time in NBA history to achieve 30,000 points, 10,000 rebounds, and 9,000 assists. Round of applause for LeBron James. All right, moving on to the NFL. The Raiders fire general manager Mike Mayock. That was kind of weird to me, very interesting. I don't know what Mike Davis is trying to do. I guess he just wants a whole new regime change. But I would encourage you to do your research on the situation in Las Vegas, because it's very intriguing. It is. I think we're going to dive into that a little bit more next week when I return back to the Little River podcast. Again, if you didn't hear earlier, I was a guest on the Little River podcast this week. That episode will be releasing tomorrow. Great conversation with those guys over there. So I think that I'm going back on next week as well. And what we'll do is I think we're going to take a deeper look into the situation in Las Vegas as it pertains to their head coaching search. And then, of course, the firing of Mike Mayock. But again, if you don't want to wait that long, I would encourage you to do your research on what's going on out there, because it's strange. It really is. It's strange with the head coaching vacancy, and then the firing of Mike Mayock really out of left field. It's interesting. I don't know what Mike Davis is attempting to do, but it's something that you would want to look into, in my opinion. Moving on, the Texans fired Dave Culley after one season. Bullshit, but we'll talk about that in just a second. I just want to touch on this point here. Roughly 7 weeks after he had surgery to repair a core muscle issue, the Packers wide receiver Randall Cobb is expected to play this week, per coach Matt LaFleur. So that gives Green Bay another weapon. That gives Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers another weapon. Again, I don't want to dive too much into that at this very moment, because we're going to jump into our NFL playoff talk here very soon. But just to go back to the Dave Culley firing after one season, I told you guys last week that it's just a huge, just to be as straightforward as possible. You have to do more if you're a black coach than if you're a white coach in the NFL, and it continues to show itself, and it continues to prove that theory continues to be proved correct as the weeks go on. The Houston Texans organization handed Dave Culley shit and wanted him to turn it into sugar. It was impossible. It was an impossible situation. We know what was going on with Deshaun Watson. We know, how suspect that Houston Texans defense is just based on the roster alone. We know that they don't have any weapons offensively. So really, what really was your expectation if you're a Houston Texan executive? What was your expectation? Because at some point you have to be honest with yourself. You either have it or you don't, honestly, because that's just what the NFL is. You either have the guys or you don't have the guys. The Houston Texans simply do not have the guys, and their one guy that they do have on their payroll was unable to play this year due to certain allegations. So to me, it's just, it's sickening, bro. It really is. It's sickening and it's frustrating that we have to continue to see this every year as time goes on. Legitimately, every single year, we see these guys being fired unjustly based on unrealistic expectations. And a huge part to play in that is their skin color. Now we're going to jump into our UFC 270 conversation. We're going to give our UFC, insider Kenneth Roach a call here, and we'll just go through a little bit of that card, and then we'll move on to our NFL playoff matchups. So let's give Kenny a call, see if we can get him on the line.
Hello?
Mr. Roach, how are you, sir?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing well, man. Doing well. How's life treating you?
Man, life's been good, man. How you been?
Doing well, man. Doing well. More life to you. I know you have a birthday tomorrow, so more life.
Yes, sir.
Man.
Big Aquarius season, man. Big Aquarius energy over here. So, shout out to us.
I hear you. I'm weak, man. Let's get into it, man. UFC 270, NGANNOU and GANE. We also have Moreno and Figueroa on that card as well. So just give me a little bit of insight and then let me know who you have in those two fights.
Man, it's going to be an interesting one, man. I feel like for the heavyweight division, this is an interesting fight because I feel like these guys actually won't rematch no matter how this plays out, because NGANNOU wants to fight Tyson Fury in a cross promotion fight, and then you got Gane who wants to go against John Jones, which is a question mark remains there. But they're saying that Gane is the most technical stand-up fighter as far as a striker, and we all know NGANNOU just has one-punch knockout power. So this fight could really be anywhere from 5 seconds to 5 rounds. NGANNOU gets tired or has gotten tired when it comes down to the later rounds. But as of recent, he's been ending fights within 1 to 2 rounds. So this is going to be a toss-up. Obviously, NGANNOU has knocked out everybody he's fought within the past 6 fights. And Miocic, which is, the last champ, he was the only one to survive 1 round. So, I don't know, man. And Gane he hasn't really fought he's fought a couple top guys, but not as many as NGANNOU. And so, this is gonna be an interesting fight. But for Gane, he's been able to break down every single opponent. And he moves like a welterweight in the heavyweight division, which is, remarkable. And you don't see that. So it's going to be interesting to see, because if Gane wins, he kind of changes, how the heavyweight division looks. And if NGANNOU wins, he looks even more, untouchable.
Right.
You may say.
Absolutely. So who do you have?
Man, I want to avoid this question.
Yeah, the heavyweight division, bro. The heavyweight division is so hard to call for me, just because everybody in that division has knockout power. So you can outfight a guy for 8 minutes, and then in that 8:01 you could get knocked out, and that's just the reality of the situation. So I understand your hesitation to call this one, bro. I do.
I will say this though, Gane is the favorite. According to Vegas, and the way he looked like actually stronger in the ring against Derek Lewis, and I mean like from the jump, it seemed like Derek Lewis was intimidated. And Derek Lewis actually was kind of the unsung person that took NGANNOU 5 rounds and beat him, even though it was kind of a fluke of a win. If you may say, like, if you actually go back and watch it, it didn't look like a good fight for both of them as far as performance-wise. But, I think that was the turning point for NGANNOU. But Gane has been able to manhandle a lot of his opponents. And I don't know. I think this is a good test to see how much strength he has, because we were able to see your weight. You're stronger than Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis was trying to do some things to Gane, and Gane just wouldn't let it happen. Was dominating the clinch the whole game, or the whole fight. And so I want to see how that is with NGANNOU. So yeah, that's all I got to say there. I want NGANNOU to win because I really want to see him fight Fury. But again, I got some friends saying that if he fight Fury, that ain't no better than Deontay Wilder. But I think Gane fighting Fury would be an interesting fight. But not to get too much off topic, I think, this is a tough one, bro. I don't know.
This is a tough one, bro.
Around. I don't know. I'm gonna have to leave that to everybody. Don't listen to me on this one. I'm watching as a fan.
Facts. Yeah, I I don't know, bro. I'm thinking the same thing. I really want Ngannou to win. I know he has the power to do it. But I've seen Gan's chin been tested before, and I've seen him withstand that power, certain power from certain guys that, you know, like a Derek Lewis who has a top or is one of the top guys in knockouts in UFC history. I've seen him withstand that power before. So when you have a guy that has knockout power like Francis Ngannou, it's going to be interesting to see how Ngannou will respond should he hit Gan with one of his big blows and he doesn't lay down like everybody else. So that's what I'm most intrigued about in this fight, honestly.
Right.
But I think I'm going to go in Ngannou. If I was a betting man, I would put my money on Ngannou right now. Like you said, he is the underdog going into our card Saturday. So
he said he did accidentally knock him out, and you know they used to be training partners. So he said he accidentally knocked out Gan bad one time with a left head kick.
Yeah,
so,
I heard that. I saw that going around this past week.
He said he don't like to brag about. It's not something he would want to brag about, but that is there. That is there. So
yeah,
that's food for thought. But with Figueiredo and Moreno, dude, like Moreno just seems like a fighter that's just so scrappy, man. He's not afraid to mix it in. In the first fight, they ended up in a draw. Good scrap, and I think they weren't prepared to score it Moreno's way, so they gave him the draw. Even though I think it was a good scrap, they both won some rounds. But dude, Moreno didn't even want to give it to the judges this time. He said, "I'm gonna end it." And the fact that he was able to have good ground game and dominate Figueiredo, I don't know. I feel like Figueiredo he's gonna bring that dog out of him. I think he was being nice. The second time, I think he didn't come out with as much intensity and he was overconfident. Something was off about him, and it's gonna be interesting to see how they come out. You know, how they come walking out, because I feel like that's when I'm able to see who's going to win the fight. It's kind of hard going based off last few fights, unless it's like a significant gap between the skill level. But you know, UFC's been doing very well when it comes down to building fights as of lately, as of the past year and a half, and every fight has felt closer than what it actually is every single time. So it's getting harder and harder, I feel like, to pick these fights. So, yeah, I feel like I'm going to avoid this question too. Like, I hate to go 0-2 for you, bro, but I was trying to sleep on it. I was trying to think on it, and I can't confidently make a decision until I see them walk out, until I see their eyes, man, until I see what they're looking like, how confident they are. It's going to be hard because the skill levels are damn near right there with each other, bro. So that's, if I'm gonna be honest, that's the reason why I can't. It's hard for me to say something. But I would love Moreno. I love Moreno and what he brings to the table, and what he's done for just the country of Mexico, and how he's just inspired so many people in that country. And he's got a legitimate following base that's way much higher than Figueiredo's,
right?
And that's saying something. So.
Yeah. Well, it'll most definitely be an interesting card, man. Again, we do have 2 title fights this Saturday, UFC 270, Ngannou versus Gane, and Moreno versus Figueiredo. I think I started off by saying Figueroa, and Figueroa is actually a boxer, so I apologize for that.
Figueiredo, man, and Gane.
Yeah, facts. Facts. Yeah. Most definitely. Well, Kenny, man, I appreciate you as always, bro. Great insight. As always, once again, I appreciate you. Happy early birthday. Live it up, my guy. Stay safe, man. We're supposed to have a snowstorm, a winter storm this weekend, so make sure you stay safe, bro. And tee up, man. Go crazy.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. Appreciate it, man, every time.
Most definitely, man. Appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy.
Again, that was our UFC insider, Kenny Roach. We went over UFC 270. If you don't already, make sure you give him a follow at colorful.desires on Instagram. Business promoting minority businesses, he's giving a lot of business owners like myself and others, numerous others, lots of others up and down the East Coast, opportunity to display their work with certain pop-up shops and things of that nature. So make sure you give Kenny a follow. Again, that is at colorful.desires. So yeah, man, let's move on. Let's go ahead and jump into our playoff preview. And then we'll go to, our playoff review of this past weekend, our super wild card weekend. And then we'll move on to our playoff divisional round review or preview of the matchups this week. Before we jump into that, it's crazy because I just talked about them a little bit in depth, saying that things were okay. Breaking news here, Lonzo Ball has suffered a meniscus tear in his left knee and will remain out for an extended period of time. Just crazy. I mean, just talked about Chicago, and the injuries that they've dealt with and are currently dealing with. And I told you guys pretty much not to fret, that they were still in good hands because they still had Lonzo, they still had DeMar, they still had Vujicic and those guys. Lonzo goes down, Levine goes down, or Levine is still down. So just crazy, man. I mean, unfortunately, it's seeming like everything is working against the Chicago Bulls right now. So hopefully Lonzo is able to recover from that, and maybe we get to see him in the playoffs. It's just extremely unfortunate. But that is the breaking news at this very moment. Lonzo Ball has suffered a torn meniscus in his left knee and will be out for an extended period of time. So just extremely unfortunate there, man. It really is it's crazy. It's crazy, but it's injuries, and that's professional sports for you, bro. That's professional sports for you. So now it's all about how will the Chicago Bulls respond to that news, and will they be able to stay atop of the Eastern Conference at this very moment and going forward. So we'll see. Something to keep a close look on. All right, here we go. This is what y'all are here for, right? This is what y'all are here for. So let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. We'll review the NFL Super Wild Card Weekend first. We'll just touch a little bit on a couple of these games. Not too much, because if you watched, you watched. If you didn't, you didn't. But again, I'll give my 2 cents on some of the matchups, and then we'll move on relatively quickly to the divisional round so we can do an in-depth look at those games. So here we are. We'll start off with the Cardinals and Rams. Matter of fact, before I even get into that, I went undefeated with my picks last week. I did. And I'm really feeling like I'm that nigga right now. I ain't going to hold you. I'm really feeling like I'm one of them right now. So I'm hoping that I stay hot this week. I'm hoping that I stay hot this weekend. But I just wanted to throw that in there. I did go undefeated. Matter of fact, 2022, I've really been hot, bro. I've really been hot. I came in the first podcast, the first episode of the year. I was kind of spiraling a bit. But I told you I was going to get it back on track. And here we are. I got it back on track. Super Wild Card Weekend predicted almost to a T. Matter of fact, to a T. But here we go. Cardinals and Rams 34-11 advantage the Los Angeles Rams. And I'll just tell you guys a couple of things that I saw in that game and who won, why the team that won, in my opinion. So 34-11 out in LA against Arizona. I told you guys in the preview last week, I told you guys what the key was going to be. The key for both teams was winning the matchup in the trenches. That's what I told you guys was going to be the case. That's what I told you guys was going to be the thing that I wanted to highlight. If whoever won the matchup in the trenches was going to win this football game. This was the only game that I really had somewhat close. This was the only game that I really had as a pick'em. And I made it a point to tell y'all that this game would be one in the trenches. That is exactly what we saw from the Los Angeles Rams on both sides of the football. At the point of attack, the Los Angeles Rams won 85 to 90% of the time. That's why the score looks the way it did. 34-11 advantage the Los Angeles Rams. Huge game from Von Miller. We finally saw him kind of have his breakout game, so to speak, with the Los Angeles Rams. Aaron Donald put on the show as well. So that's that right there with those two guys on your front line. they had the advantage. They abused the Arizona Cardinals offensive line. They came out, they punched them in the mouth, and the Arizona Cardinals just simply could not respond. They simply could not respond. I was nervous to a certain degree because I saw the Rams in week 18 go up by 17 points at halftime and end up folding that lead away to the San Francisco 49ers. And this week they were up, 21-0 at halftime. So it gave you a little bit more leeway. And just the kind of the feel of the game was that the Los Angeles Rams just simply were the superior team this week. But with that being said, I was still a bit nervous because I did see a week prior, the Rams fold a lead away. But again, that's neither here nor there. Really, at this very moment, the Rams only allowed one touchdown in the third quarter to Kyler Murray and company. Just a phenomenal performance. Round of applause. Just a phenomenal performance for the Los Angeles Rams. They came out. Matthew Stafford gets his first ever playoff win. So now we'll see if they can stay hot. We'll see if they can stay hot now for the Arizona Cardinals. They got some work to do. They have some work to do. I mean, we all know, how a majority of us feel about Kyler Murray. I know that before this matchup this past weekend, I felt a certain way about Kyler Murray. And I'll be transparent. I'll be honest. My perception of Kyler Murray has changed a bit. It has. I'm going to be as honest and as blunt with you guys as possible. My perception with Kyler Murray, or my perception of Kyler Murray, has changed. It has. That was an embarrassing performance. Couldn't get anything going. The Rams did a hell of a job. Again, they did a hell of a job by winning the matchup in the trenches. That's where it all started this week. I made it abundantly clear that that's where it was all going to start. But 19-34, not a terrible completion percentage, a little over 50% there, but only 137 yards and two turnovers, 2 interceptions. That just simply cannot happen. It can't happen in the playoffs, and that's what we saw from Kyler Murray. I mean, it is, and maybe sometimes quarterbacks of these teams and things of that nature get a little bit too much, or get a little too much blame for these certain type losses. But in all actuality, in this case, it's deserved. It's deserved. Every bit of scrutiny that Kyler Murray is under right now, he deserves it because he did not perform. The Los Angeles Rams did. Round of applause for Matthew Stafford winning his first ever playoff game. And again, we'll see if the Rams are able to stay hot this week. Let's move on to our next matchup. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Pittsburgh Steelers. There really just isn't much to say here. I know I was very vocal about, a lot of people counting Pittsburgh out. I was very vocal about that. But, they played relatively good. They played solid for the first quarter, 0-0 at the end of the first. Then the Kansas City Chiefs really just exploded in the second quarter. The Pittsburgh Steelers allowed 21 points and were able to respond with 7 of their own. So you're going into halftime 21-7. But the Chiefs' offense just simply was a little bit too much for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pat Mahomes put on an absolute show, 404, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. And that really was the highlight of the game, Patrick Mahomes and the greatness that he displayed against Pittsburgh in that wild card matchup. So really nothing much to touch on as it pertains to that matchup. Again, 21-42 was the final. Steelers are eliminated. The Chiefs move on. And here we go. Moving on to the Raiders and the Bengals. This game was a little bit closer than I predicted, I guess. I thought that the Raiders were going to get blown out. I knew that the Raiders were going to put up points. That's how I felt, at least. I thought that the Raiders were going to be able to put up points. But I said in a preview for the wild card weekend, I said that the Cincinnati Bengals had a 40 or 50 ball, in their near future. That wasn't the case. 26-19 was the final there. So that was not the case. But in that same respect, that offense still looks as good as ever. It does. Great performance from Joe Burrow. Really a good performance from both defenses, really. I'll be honest with you. A good performance from both defenses. The Raiders did their job defensively. You know, they had a couple plays where they came up a bit short, obviously. A couple stops here down the stretch that they gave up. But in all actuality, the Las Vegas the Las Vegas Raiders played a much better game than I predicted they would. And for Cincinnati, this was a challenge. This was an early challenge in the playoffs. You know, the first win that they got the first win that they've gotten in the playoffs in 31 years. So that was huge for them. But they were challenged. They were tested Saturday evening. They were challenged by a solid Las Vegas Raiders football team, and they responded. They did. They rose to the occasion, and they ended up overcoming the adversity that they suffered in that game. So we'll see how that plays out for the Bengals going forward. Let's take a look at our next matchup. Raiders at Pats, Pats at Bills. I don't know why I said the Raiders. So the Patriots at the Bills, we know I predicted them to win by 10. They ended up winning by 30. 47-17 was the final there. I mean, my God, what an offensive explosion from the Buffalo Bills. I think that, what was the stat? They had more touchdowns than they did third downs, or more touchdowns than they did punts. I mean, something just absolutely ridiculous, something crazy. Bro, Josh Allen, 308 yards, 21 of 25, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. I've been trying to tell y'all about that boy Josh Allen. He is a bad motherfucker. I've been trying to tell y'all he is cold as hell. And that proved to be the case against the New England Patriots on Saturday night. Hell of a game. If you are a Bills fan, if you were rooting for the Bills, you know, if you're a Josh Allen fan, whatever may have you, hell of a game for the other side. For the New England Patriots, they just simply did not have enough. They didn't have enough, and what the problem was, obviously, was defense. They couldn't get off the field. You know, I thought that Bill was going to put up a bit more of a fight as it pertains to the defensive scheme, you know, but Josh Allen just tore whatever game plan Bill came in with, whatever those guys had in mind, he just absolutely tore it up and pissed on it. Honestly, that's just the reality of the situation. Another thing to highlight is, Mac Jones really isn't that. Y'all can feel however y'all want to feel. Y'all can say that I'm tough on Mac Jones. You know, you can think I'm singling him out, but whatever. You can feel that way if you want to, but I'm telling you, this kid is not what y'all try to make him out to be. He's not Brady, and he never will be Brady because he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that dog. We saw him get exposed this past weekend. He did go for 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. But to me, he really was exposed. He was part of the reason these guys lost this game. The offense could not give the defense any support at all, and the defense gave the offense no support at all. Just a completely dominating performance from the Buffalo Bills as they advance to go see the Kansas City Chiefs. And we'll dive into that matchup here very soon. The Eagles and Buccaneers, really the only thing to highlight. Y'all know how I felt about this matchup off rip anyway. That held true. The final there was 31-15. That 15 is very misleading. The Philadelphia Eagles scored those 15 points in the final quarter after the Buccaneers were already up 31-0. You know, so it just wasn't a game, bro. It really wasn't. It wasn't a game. Nothing at all to highlight except for the injuries that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers suffered on the offensive line. And if you watched the game and you knew the situation and knew what was going on with those injuries, once big man went out, Wash, whatever his name is, I don't know, the right tackle, once he went out, shit started to change just a little bit for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady, because he was getting rocked. He was getting rocked. He was getting blasted. And so going forward, as they face off against the Rams this week, that's going to be part of the reason foreshadowing here. That's going to be part of the reason why I make the decision that I make on who I have predicted to win that football game. So keep that in mind. They had the tackle go down, and then I want to say either the center or one of the guards went down. So that really was the highlight of the game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, was the injuries that they suffered on that offensive line. So that doesn't bode well for them, in my opinion. It really doesn't. But we'll leave that there. Again, y'all already know how I felt about this matchup. I didn't even give it any validity when it came up, in our Super Wild Card playoff review or playoff preview. I didn't even give it any validity because I couldn't bring myself to do it. I couldn't. I already knew what time it was, and that held true. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers dominate the Philadelphia Eagles. 31-15 was the final Sunday afternoon. And then probably the biggest game, well, actually, statistically, one of the biggest games the past decade to decade and a half in the NFL, San Francisco and Dallas, 23-17 advantage 49ers. Again, another matchup that I predicted correctly. But it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate for the Dallas Cowboys. It's unfortunate for the fan base. It's unfortunate for Jerry Jones, all of those guys. But exactly what I said was going to happen, that's exactly what happened, bro. The San Francisco 49ers came out, punched the Cowboys in the mouth, played the ugly brand of football. I want to say the first half, I think the Dallas Cowboys only had 2 possessions, maybe 3. So the time of possession battle was clearly won by the San Francisco 49ers, and they just wanted it more than Dallas. They did. Dallas did what they've been doing all year, and they tried to turn it on at the end. They went into halftime down 16-7. Then the San Francisco 49ers went up 23-7. Then you got 10 points out of the Dallas offense in the last quarter. But again, you cannot do that against good teams. You can't wait to turn it on in the second half with good teams. The Dallas Cowboys got exposed. The San Francisco 49ers were just a little bit tougher, and they wanted it a little bit more. That was abundantly clear to me in that game as the San Francisco 49ers move on. I got asked a question yesterday on the Little River podcast, and the question was, where did the Cowboys go from here? And I'm here to tell you right now, I honestly have no idea. I don't. You have 2 great running backs. You have, 2 phenomenal wide receivers in Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. You have your guy in which you believe to be your franchise quarterback in Dak Prescott. Then you have an all-pro cornerback who that's something that I actually didn't touch on that we will touch on before we go to our preview, just real quick, is an all-pro team. But I don't agree with him being an all-pro cornerback because there's no way that you can allow the amount of yardage that you allow and still get named to an all-pro team. Well, obviously, that statement was contradicting to a certain degree because there is a way. We saw it happen this year with Trayvon Diggs. I know the interceptions are sexy, but if you look at it from a coverage standpoint, he's really not that. He's not that. We saw that this week when he attempted to guard Brandon Ayuk. Got exposed. Trayvon Diggs is not that. I've been saying that for the past couple weeks now. Very misleading, the interception total that he ended with this year. And again, just very unfortunate for the Dallas Cowboys to be bounced in the first round by the San Francisco 49ers. Very unfortunate. So yeah, that is our review from last week. So let's take a look real quick just at the all-pro team. Just real fast. Let me just give you guys these names because that list was announced this past week. So let's take a look here. First team offense, Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, Jonathan Taylor at running back, Mark Andrews at tight end. For our receivers, we had Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, and Deebo Samuel. At left tackle, Trent Williams. Tampa Bay, Tristan Wirfs. That's the guy that actually went down. Right tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tristan Wirfs. And again, that will play a factor into why I have who I have in that Tampa Bay versus LA game that will be played on Sunday. So again, Tristan Wirfs at right tackle, Joel Bitonio, I don't know how to pronounce that last name. Left guard from Cleveland, Zach Martin, the right guard from Dallas, Jason Kelsey at center, and that rounded off the offensive first team All-Pro team as produced by the Associated Post. The Associated Press, my apologies. And here we go with defense. First team, TJ Watt, obviously, Myles Garrett, also the two edge rushers there, the interior linemen, Aaron Donald and Cameron Hayward. Both of those guys are very well deserving. First team linebackers defensively, obviously, Michael Parsons for the Dallas Cowboys, Darius Leonard of the Indianapolis Colts, and then Devondre Campbell for the Green Bay Packers. And then again, the one that I really don't agree with at all, to be completely transparent, cornerbacks, first team All-Pro Trayvon Diggs from the Dallas Cowboys, and then Jalen Ramsey. Neither one of those guys really had a crazy season to me, honestly. I was very unimpressed with the decision to have both of those guys named as All-Pros. I was very unimpressed with that. Kevin Beard of the Tennessee Titans, and then Jordan Poyer of the Buffalo Bills. For our special teams, first team, we had Justin Tucker and A.J. Cole. Justin Tucker, obviously, with the Baltimore Ravens. A.J. Cole with the Las Vegas Raiders. Kick returner Braxton Burris from the New York Jets. Huge for him. Devin Duvernay for the Baltimore Ravens at punt returner. J.T. Gray for special team. I believe he's just a special teams guy. J.T. Gray from New Orleans. And then Luke Rose, the long snapper from Indianapolis, made the first team All-Pro for special teams as well. Quickly going through our second team, I'll just give these names real fast. I won't really make too much of a comment here. But for our second team, Tom Brady, Travis Kelce, no selection for running back. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Rashawn Slater, Lane Johnson, Wyatt Teller, Corey Lindsey at center, Robert Quinn, Max Crosby for the edge rushers, Chris Jones, Jeffrey Simmons for Tennessee, for the interior linemen, Demario Davis, Roquan Smith, and Bobby Wagner for linebackers, and then J.C. Jackson, A.J. Terrell at cornerback. Safeties, we had Justin Simmons, Micah Hyde, and Budda Baker. And then Daniel Carlson was the place kicker named to that list, along with Brian Anger, Andre Roberts as the kick returner, Jakeem Grant from as punt returner from Chicago, then Matthew Slater and Ashton Dunley, as well as for special teams players, and then long snapper, second team All-Pro Josh Harris from the Atlanta Falcons. You can make an argument for Jalen Ramsey, for me, a bit easier than you can for Trayvon Diggs. There's no way, once again, that Trayvon Diggs is able to allow the amount of yardage that he did, get exposed on as many plays as he did, and still make first team All-Pro. To me, that's just really embarrassing from the AP. I hated that I think that everybody that made those teams, made those first and second team All-Pros, I feel as though everybody on those lists were very deserving of the accomplishment. I do, because of the work that they put in. But if I had to say I had a problem with one thing on the list, if you just gave me one thing, because that's really all I have, but if you said, tell me one thing that you hated about this list, I'm immediately going to first team all cornerback, and I'm circling Trayvon Diggs, because that is not true cornerback play. Just because you can make interceptions and just because you had a lot of interceptions does not mean that you had a great season or that you had an All-Pro season. That's not the reality. That's not the reality. He didn't have as good of a season as people tried to make it seem. Obviously, the Associated Press fell victim to the stat line and didn't necessarily watch the play of that certain player. And I hate to single Trayvon Diggs out like that. It's nothing personal, bro. But at the end of the day, you're in the business of entertainment. You're in the business of entertainment, and you're in the business of results. The interceptions, again, they're sexy. But if we're looking at it and breaking it down, as a coverage corner, Trayvon Diggs should not have made first team All-Pro. He shouldn't. And we'll move on. We'll move on from there. So let's jump into it. This is a show here. Let's take a look at our divisional round, and we'll do kind of just like we did last week. We'll break everything down, and then we'll go from there. I'll give you my prediction, and we'll try to keep this thing going, kind of try and keep this thing moving as much as possible. So here we go. Let's start off here. We'll go and order this go round. The Bengals and Titans will start our weekend off 4:30 on Saturday. 4:30 on Saturday. I'll go ahead and say it now, just so I can save you guys some of the suspense. I have the Tennessee Titans winning this game. I'm not going to give a spread because I never do when we do things like this. Not going to give a spread, but I have the Tennessee Titans winning this game. But let's break it down. Let's break everything down and let's see what we have. Okay. For the Cincinnati Bengals, we know the offense that they have. We know how special Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and the connection that they have is. So we know, that they have the ability to put up points. The key is for the Tennessee Titans, Derrick Henry will be back. A.J. Brown, he's a go. And then Julio Jones is still a question mark, but it's being rumored that he will be a go as well. We'll see how that ends up turning out. But Tennessee has dogs. I know how we felt about Tennessee when Derrick Henry went down, and I won't speak for you guys. For me personally, when Derrick Henry went down, I thought the Tennessee Titans season was pretty much a wrap. I did. But they responded to the adversity. They overcame it, and now they're in the position that they were. They had to bye last week. So again, with these two number one seeds, Green Bay being the one out of the NFC and then Tennessee being the team that represents the AFC as their number one seed, that is going to be one thing. It can be a gift and a curse. Yes, for the sake of the conversation in this point, for example, it's a gift because you have Aaron Rodgers in the NFC who's been dealing with the toe injury, and because he had that week off, now they're saying that he's at 100% or closer to 100% than he was in week 18, right? So that's the gift, but then it could be a curse as well because you got a random bye in the middle of the season, that you work so hard for, but that doesn't account for teams coming out and playing sluggish, teams coming out and not being necessarily 100% awake yet. So that's the curse with the number one seed. But as we look at this Tennessee Titans and Cincinnati Bengals matchup Saturday, I have the Tennessee Titans. I do. I really want to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Everything is really telling me in my head to go with the Cincinnati Bengals, but in my heart, what I know is that the Tennessee Titans are just a bunch of resilient guys, and on top of that, they are the number one seed, and to throw everything else or to make it all come together, they get Derrick Henry back. And they've been playing a great brand of football without Derrick Henry, and now you add Derrick Henry back to the brand of football that they've been playing. To me, it doesn't bode well for the Cincinnati Bengals. Give me the Tennessee Titans in this matchup. I like it. Here we go. On to our next matchup. But today it won't be as long and drawn out as the last episode with the preview. I'll just touch a little bit on it like I did just then with the Bengals and Titans, and then we'll just continue to move forward so we can kind of wrap up here at a reasonable time. Moving on to San Francisco and Green Bay. Green Bay, the number one seed of the NFC, against the number 6 seed in the NFC, the San Francisco 49ers. Green Bay finished at 13-4. They finished at the number 1 seed. Now let's talk about it, because I have San Francisco again. I think they go into Lambeau. I think they upset the Green Bay Packers. I think they come out and do the same exact thing that they did against the Dallas Cowboys. I think they come out, they punch Green Bay in the mouth. They punch them in the mouth again, and they punch them in the mouth again. And I think at some point, the Green Bay Packers fold. So give me the San Francisco 49ers once again this week. They've been hot. I've been saying the San Francisco 49ers for the past 2 weeks. They haven't let me down yet. And I think that they will continue to win these football games. I do. Give me the San Francisco 49ers. Let's break it down. Where do the Green Bay Packers have the advantage? Obviously at quarterback. Defensively, yeah, I'll give you that as well. They have the advantage defensively. If we look at the head coaches, we have Shanahan, we have LaFleur. I'm not 100% sold on LaFleur. I'm not sold on LaFleur. That's not me saying that I'm sold on Shanahan either. Because we know that he will get up and blow leads, because we've seen that from Kyle Shanahan before. But if I have to go one way, I'm going to give it to San Francisco. I am. Quarterback, I mean, again, that's very obvious. You have Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy G. There's no conversation to be had there. The best quarterback of all time. Give me Aaron Rodgers. Then we go look at the receiving core. It's kind of a pick 'em. It's kind of what you prefer. Devontae Adams, he is one of the best receivers in the NFL. He is an all-pro, but so is Deebo Samuel. Deebo needs his respect. We saw him close Dallas out this past weekend on that run, because he can do both. He can be a running back and he can be a wide receiver. So you kind of just take your pick there. We go to running back, Eli Mitchell. We saw what he was able to do, and then again, you have to slide Deebo in that category of running back as well. So Eli Mitchell and Deebo Samuel going up against Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. You just pick what you prefer. You pick what you prefer. Honestly, I pick Deebo. That's how I'm feeling. I'm a huge Deebo fan. I pick Deebo. That's me. So, I mean, in any situation, now the wide receiver, we go Ayuk and Deebo, and then we go Devontae and Lazard, or MVG, or MVS, excuse me, Valdez-Scantling. Again, it's a pick 'em. It's what you prefer. I will say this. I will give the slight edge to Green Bay in that respect, because Devontae Adams has been doing this at such an elite level for so long. So I will give the slight advantage there, but it's not too much of a difference. It's really not. If you take Devontae, I'll take Deebo. If you take Deebo, I'll take Devontae. It's not much of a difference there. So this matchup, it will be very intriguing. It will be very intriguing. How do you win this football game? I think that the magic number for the San Francisco 49ers is 26. I think that the San Francisco 49ers have to at least score 26 points in order to beat this Green Bay Packers team, because don't get me wrong, I've been very, very vocal about how I feel about the Green Bay Packers and the brand of football they've been playing this year. I've been extremely vocal about that. I said 2 weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago, that the Green Bay Packers, oh man, my apologies, I'm gonna drop my headphones. But I said a couple weeks ago that the Green Bay Packers are the best team in football. And really nothing has changed. Nothing at all has changed. Why I'm taking San Francisco in this matchup is just simply because San Francisco is the hotter team. They're the hotter team. I saw the San Francisco 49ers go into LA week 18 and overcome a 17-point deficit. And then I saw them last week in the Super Wildcard matchup against the Dallas Cowboys go into AT&T and clip them. Absolutely dominate the Dallas Cowboys. So that's the reason why I'm taking San Francisco in this matchup. It's because they're the hotter team. The Green Bay Packers are coming off a bye. Once again, that's a gift and a curse. Aaron Rodgers, he's healthy. He's good to go. The toe has recovered, wherever may have you. But I don't know if Green Bay will be sluggish coming out. I don't know. What I do know is that the San Francisco 49ers have been playing an elite brand of football. And I know right now that I'm taking San Francisco over a lot of teams that are remaining. I'm taking San Francisco over a lot of teams that are remaining, and I'll just leave that there for right now. But I do have San Francisco winning this football game. So we'll see. That's probably going to be the best matchup, in my opinion, of the weekend. I think that 49ers and Packers game is the one to keep your eye out on. Now let's move on. Again, 49ers. Give me the 49ers in that matchup. Give me the Titans in the first matchup. Let's move on to the Rams and Buccaneers. We know the story here. We do. Let's not just beat around the bush. Let's just be honest. We know the story. It's Tom Brady versus Matthew Stafford. I mean, you would be an idiot, and I say that with all due respect, but you would be an idiot to feel in any bone in your body that Matthew Stafford can compete with Tom Brady. So off rip, let's go ahead and give the advantage to the Buccaneers because there's really no real conversation that needs to be had there. There's not. And again, it's idiotic. I won't say that you're an idiot, but it's idiotic to feel as though Matthew Stafford even has a shot. So if it comes down to that, you might as well put the Rams in a body bag. God honest truth. Now let's talk about the head coaches, Bruce Arians and Sean McVay. One is a Super Bowl champion. One is the chosen one. You know who I want in that matchup. Especially after seeing how Bruce Arians handled the Antonio Brown situation. Then he's smacking the shit out of his player in the Philadelphia game. I used to bang with Bruce Arians, but now this year, I don't know. He's kind of turned me off a little bit. I'll be honest with you. He's kind of turned me off a little bit. Give me McVay in the head coaching matchup. And then, if we just break it down, to me, the Los Angeles Rams have the better defense. That's me. Once again, that's me. 2 first-team All-Pros in Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. An accomplished Super Bowl champion in Von Miller. Young guys that fly to the football. So I want the Rams defensively. At running back, I don't know who's going to be a go. I mean, because if you're telling me that I get to have Cam Akers and the way I saw him toting that bitch against the Arizona Cardinals, and I don't want to ever see players get injured. I don't want to ever see nothing like that. But the way he ran through Buddha's fucking face mask and left that nigga, I'm not even going to go there. But the way he was toting that bitch against the Arizona Cardinals, if I had to pick between Cam Akers and Giovanni Bernard, respectfully, we know who I'm going with in that matchup. And if you don't, give me Cam Akers. Now, maybe Leonard Fournette is good to go this week. Who knows? Maybe he is. But coming off of an injury, I still want Cam Akers in the way I saw him perform against Arizona. I do. We can go to wideouts. We know the injuries and the dismissal of Antonio Brown from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So you're giving me Mike Evans and a bunch of guys, really, respectfully. Obviously, you have Rob Gronkowski as well. But if we're talking about the receiving core, specifically, you have Mike Evans and a bunch of guys plus Rob Gronkowski going up against the Triple Crown winner, first-team All-Pro, Cooper Kupp. And Mr. Chrome Heart himself, Odell Beckham Jr. Give me the Rams wide receiver core at tight end just because of how great Gronk has been in his career. I'm going to give the slight advantage at tight end to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but Tyler Higbee is no slouch. Tyler Higbee came up with a couple of big catches in that game against Arizona when they needed him the most. Matthew Stafford checked right down, right across the middle to my boy Tyler Higbee. And he converted and he did what he needed to do. He made the catches. He made the plays. So if you can kind of feel my energy right now, you should know who I'm taking. But if you don't and you need me to say it, give me the Rams. Give me the Rams because this is the key. Here we go. I said it last week again, same matchup or the same team with the Rams. I said the same exact thing, and I'm going to say it again this week. This matchup is going to be won by who has the most efficient defensive line. The key for the Los Angeles Rams this week is going to be getting after Tom Brady. And guess what? Your job is a bit easier because we don't know if Wirfs is playing. We don't know if the guard is coming back. I'm going blank on the guard's name or the center, whichever one it was, but I'm going blank on their name. But Wirfs, we don't know what his status is going to be. He was still nursing the injury as of yesterday in practice. He was still nursing the injury. And there's been no word on the interior lineman that I'm referring to. Because his name would have came back to me at some point. Just know that he's a very important piece of that offensive line. One of the best offensive lines in football. If not the best in pass block, and pass pro. So your job is a bit easier if you're the Los Angeles Rams, but the key is getting after Tom Brady. Because if he gets comfortable, he's going to shred your ass up. We all know that. But if you can make him uncomfortable, he's immobile. He's immobile. He's not Kyler Murray, a guy that can kill you if he gets outside of the pocket. He's not one of them. So if you can get after Tom Brady and speed that clock up in his head a little bit, I think that the Los Angeles Rams have a very good shot at winning this football game. I do. Now, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers D-line, and really their front seven, so I can't say that it's necessarily a D-line versus D-line thing, which ultimately that is what it comes down to, is the battle in the trenches. I do believe this game will be won by the team that's the more aggressive team in the trenches, the team that comes out and feels as though they want to dominate the most in the trenches. But for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the key for me is slowing down that running game of the Los Angeles Rams. That is the key. Slowing down Cam Akers, slowing down Sony. I'm not sure what Darrell Henderson has going on. Let me take a look real quick and see if I can find anything on him. Just real quick. Because I know I haven't seen him at all. Like really the past 2 or 3 weeks. So he was placed on IR on December 27th. Let's see. Yeah, so there's really nothing. There's nothing really that I can find on his injury at this very moment, and I don't want to hold you guys up too much on this. So irregardless, the key for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is stopping the Rams' run game, because when the Rams are efficient on the ground, that opens up their whole offense. It does. That's when they're able to dink and doink all the way down the field with play action passes, under routes, all of those type things. When the Rams are running the football well, that is when that is the best product. That is when we see the Rams' best offensive product, is when they're running the football well. So the key for Tampa Bay is stopping that run. That's the key. They must stop the run. If they show an inability to do that, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be clipped. And that's the reality of the situation. Again, give me the Los Angeles Rams. I need it. I have the Los Angeles Rams winning this football game. I think Tom Brady gets bounced in the second round. And I think that the Rams move on to go see the San Francisco 49ers. A San Francisco 49ers team that has already beat them twice this year. So you take that as you will. Let's move on. Our final matchup here, the Bills and the Chiefs. Y'all know where I'm going with this, but let me go ahead and make it abundantly clear. Give me Josh Allen. I need it. Give me Josh Allen. Give me the Buffalo Bills. Give me Sean McDermott. We'll break it down. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. A lot of y'all will say Patrick Mahomes. I can't say that I disagree with you. I think that the difference between the two is a lot closer than a lot of people will try to make it. I think that the difference between those two guys are a lot closer than a lot of people will try to make it. It's really a pick 'em to me, but I can't be mad if you say Patrick Mahomes. So I'll let you have that. I'll give you that. Running back, to me, to be quite honest with you, The running back position in this matchup means absolutely nothing. And I say that with all due respect to Clyde and Devin Singletary and Zach Moss and the running backs for the Kansas City Chiefs. I say that with all due respect. I do, but they're pretty much irrelevant. They're pretty much irrelevant in this matchup. This is going to be an air raid, this game. It's going to be a shootout. And ultimately, it's going to come down. This is what this game is going to come down to, because we can look at the coaches. You know, you got Andy Reid and Sean McDermott. Andy Reid, again, a Super Bowl champion, a legend in this game, one of the most loved coaches in the NFL amongst players and coaches alike. And then Sean McDermott. I'm very familiar with Sean McDermott due to his stint in Carolina, so I know a lot about the guy. Again, the coaching matchup to me really is a pick 'em once again, just like the quarterback situation. It is. And then wide receiver core, I said this on LRP and I'll say it again today. The wide receiver core, you might have to give me really, I know the gas behind, I know the gas behind Trav and Tyreek, but you might have to give me Buffalo's wide receiver core, honestly. I know Hardman, I know Pringle, I know those dudes, but if you giving me the option to have those guys or Stephon Diggs with Cole Beasley, McKenzie, Gabriel Davis, and Emmanuel Sanders, as well as Dawson Knox, simple math, just based on the names that I just named, simple math is going to tell you that 6 is greater than 4 off rip. So give me the Buffalo Bills wide receiver core, with all due respect to Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. And then at that point, we're stuck with defense. And to me, this game is going to come down to who can make the most stops. And that might sound like a basic concept. You may say, obviously, that's the key in any football game, who can come up with the most stops. But the thing about it is, this is a game that you're going to see a lot more points scored than stops had. Honestly, you will. This is going to be a shootout. Let me see what the over-under is right now as it pertains to points. Right now it's at 53.5, and if I was a betting man, I would be hammering the over. I would be hammering the over if I was a betting man myself. I'll just be honest with you. 53.5, I think that spread will change before Sunday. But again, if I was a betting man, I would have to take the over, because this is going to be a shootout, and the key to win this game is getting the most stops. Who can get the most stops? Because there will be more points scored in this football game than there are stops to be had. Honestly. And if it comes down to that, I want the Buffalo Bills. So that's why I have the Buffalo Bills in this matchup. I have full faith in Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen is going to take this matchup personal, because if we really look at it from last year, the Kansas City Chiefs took away Josh Allen's MVP trophy, and the Kansas City Chiefs took away Josh Allen's opportunity to be a Super Bowl champion. So I think Josh Allen is going to take this matchup personally. I think that the Buffalo Bills defense will be able to overcome the adversity that is Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. And I think that the Buffalo Bills will win this football game. I do. The Buffalo Bills will make more stops than the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's why they'll win this football game, because their defense will come up big in a big moment, and they will change the whole dynamic of this game. They will. Give me the Buffalo Bills. Give me the Buffalo Bills, man. Let's take a look. That's going to be a great matchup too, bro. Just another great week of football. It's really the last week of football, really the last weekend of football that we have. Honestly, I mean, obviously we know the championship. We'll have championship Sunday next week, and then the Super Bowl on February 13th. But this is really the last real weekend of football that we are left with, man. So everybody just enjoy the moment, take it all in. It's been a hell of a year. I'll be honest, my stance on the 18 weeks, the 18-week season has changed a bit. I like it. I like the 18-week season. I like all the flip-flopping that occurred in the standings this year. I like that, any team could be beaten on any week. I love the NFL season this year. A great wild card weekend, and I'm hoping for an even better divisional round this weekend with the matchups that we have. Again, real quick, Bengals and Titans. Give me the Titans. 49ers and Packers. Give me the 49ers on the road in Lambeau. Los Angeles versus Tampa Bay. Give me the Rams. And Buffalo versus Kansas City. I'll take Buffalo. That is 3 underdogs out of the 4. Because a lot of y'all were on my jacket, on my body, because I made a post, talking my shit because I went unbeaten last week. I went on a heater last week, and a lot of y'all are trying to pop y'all shit to me, talking about I took, all the favorites, this and that. You can feel that way, but listen, it happens. It happens, bro. I'm just blessed with knowing what's going to happen, bro. And I really feel like I'm going 4-0 this week. I do. So, again, pretty much the last weekend in football, we will have the 2 games next week. We will have the Super Bowl. But make sure you take this moment in because this has really just been a hell of a year for the NFL. And honestly, I'm just going to give the NFL as a whole a round of applause. Just with the fact that they were able to deal with COVID, there was really no drop-off. There were fans in the stadiums, high energy. Every Sunday in every stadium you went to, just great football being played all year from just numerous different teams. It was just a great year. It was just a great year. And again, I'm hoping that the divisional round will live up to the expectation or live up to the bar that the rest of this NFL season has set. So that's what I have on the NFL playoffs for this week. Let's take a look and see. Yep. So let's go to our mailbag. Let's jump into our mailbag. Again, just to run through those times real quick for you. Let me take a look here. Bengals and Titans Saturday at 4:30 Eastern time. 49ers and Green Bay at 8:15 Eastern time on Saturday as well. Sunday we have a 3:00 game with the Rams and Buccaneers, and then Sunday we have a 6:30 game as well with the Bills and Chiefs. All of those times are Eastern Standard Time. So just make sure you're tuned in there. So let's head over to our mailbag. So for mailbag this week, be kind of regular. It would be back to normal. I kind of did rapid fire last week. But I'll give answers. I'll try to give as much details as possible this go round or this week. But I want to keep it kind of under 5 minutes. So we'll see how that goes because y'all know how I get when I get to rambling. So let's see. Bucks or Rams, JJ's pick of the week. We talked about that a couple minutes ago. I have the Rams. And again, just rewind if you missed it in the podcast, but that is my answer. Bucks or Rams, I have the Rams this week. Which quarterback has the most to lose in these playoffs? To me, there's only one clear-cut answer, and the answer is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has the most to lose this season. With all of the bullshit that he put the Green Bay Packers through in the offseason, the relationship that him and Matt LaFleur have or don't have, whatever may have you, the middle of the season with the whole COVID shenanigans, him giving the fake card or whatever may have you, or finding out that he wasn't vaccinated when he said he was, or whatever the whole situation was with the COVID shenanigans. The fact that he's a free agent coming up this year, and the fact that he's only won 1 Super Bowl. So there's only one real answer. Aaron Rodgers has the most to lose in this NFL playoffs. He does. He does. He has the most to lose. He only has one Super Bowl ring. I've been very vocal on me feeling as though Aaron Rodgers is the most talented quarterback of all time, that Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback of all time. But when we talk about his accolades and his greatness, because to me, that is what makes somebody the GOAT, the greatest of all times, is the accolades that goes behind that. When we talk about that, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have much to show for it as it pertains to NFC championships and as it pertains to Super Bowls. He doesn't. So in all reality, if Aaron Rodgers only wins the city of Green Bay one Super Bowl, they're going to be appreciative for it. But then when we look at it when we look at it 5, 10, 15 years down the line, we look at it in hindsight. If Aaron Rodgers is only able to win one Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers and with that organization, we're looking at Aaron Rodgers a bit differently as it pertains to him being on that level of top 5, top 10, whatever may have you, quarterbacks of all time. We are. That's the reality of the situation. Aaron Rodgers has the most to lose in this year's playoffs. He does. He does. Here we go. Seeing the way the Rams dismantled the Cardinals, how confident are you in them playing the Bucs? Do they have a legit chance? Yeah, they have a legit chance. I'm extremely confident with the Los Angeles Rams going into Tampa Bay, especially with the status of their right tackle and their center being in question. I'm extremely confident that the Los Angeles Rams will win this game. And do they have a legit chance? They absolutely have a legit chance. I believe that the Los Angeles Rams will win this game this week. I do. And then last but not least, is Kyler Murray elite? And just to keep that as short as possible, no, he's not elite. Kyler Murray is not elite. And I'm just going to go directly to the game that we saw him have against the Los Angeles Rams. 19-34, 137 yards and 2 picks. That's not elite to me. Now, y'all may feel differently, but if you're asking me, which you are, I mean, this is Mailbag for the G2S Good Talk podcast hosted by Jeremy Joyner, a.k.a. JJ. You are asking me if I feel as though Kyler Murray is, if he's elite or not. No, he's not elite. He got exposed. Now, are quarterbacks allowed to have bad games and still be elite? Absolutely. But Kyler Murray, he wasn't healthy this year. When he was up and down. And in the playoffs, in the biggest stage of his career, his first ever career playoff game, he got clipped and he got exposed and he played like shit. So is Kyler Murray elite? Absolutely not. That's the only real answer. I mean, y'all want me to keep it 100, and if y'all don't, oh well, find a different podcast. But I'm gonna always keep it 100. I'm gonna always be honest, no matter how I feel about these guys, no matter the true feelings that I have, no matter if I'm a fan or not. We have to look at the reality of these situations. Kyler Murray got exposed against the Los Angeles Rams. He was up and down this year health-wise. And then when he came back off the injury, he was a shell of himself. As time went on, he seemed as though he was good to go, seemed as though he was healthy. And then when it came down to it, the biggest moment of his career, once again, the only playoff game that he's been a part of, he gets exposed. 137 yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. Kyler Murray is not elite. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, honestly. But that will wrap up our mailbag for this week. As always, send your questions in if you want to DM. Send them through DM, send them through text message, send them through Snapchat, whatever you want to do. If you want a question answered on the podcast, just shoot it to me, and we'll make sure that we definitely go over it in our mailbag segment. So that is that for mailbag this week. I appreciate you guys as always. So let's move on to the best thing I saw this week, and then we'll wrap up. The best thing that I saw this week was Russell Westbrook's dunk over Rudy Gobert. Take a listen, if I can find it.
Beyond the arc.
Then he gets a technical for taunting. But, I mean, he looked back at Rudy Gobert and had some.
So that was the best thing that I saw this week. Again, that was Russell Westbrook's dunk, over the Utah Jazz, Rudy Gobert. And last but not least, our Ass Out Award. Our Ass Out Award this week goes to the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys started this season off, I want to say the first 10 or so weeks, as one of the best teams in football. Top 3 in my opinion. They had a week 1 loss against Tampa Bay, but it was a good loss if you're in the moral victories. They battled with them. Dak Prescott put on an absolute clinic coming off of a fucked ankle. As time goes on, you know, they're up and down. They beat the shit out of Philly week 18, so they're feeling really good about themselves. Them and their fan base feeling really good about themselves. Then Jerry Jones gets a little bit too big for his britches and says it's Super Bowl or bust. And again, I had to attribute this. I had to contribute this, or I had to give credit where it's due to my boy Jan of the LRP. And he said, Jan and Turbo, they said their stance on the Dallas Cowboys is this. They always say Super Bowl or bust. They always say this and that, and they're always looking forward. The problem with the Dallas Cowboys is that they never look at what's directly in front of them. And what was directly in front of them was a Mack truck being the San Francisco 49ers. And it came out and absolutely dismantled and flattened the Dallas Cowboys. And now I don't know where you go from here, because they have a couple of big names that are free agents. Names like Cedric Wilson, Michael Gallup, Zach Martin, Keanu Neal, guys like that are free agents. I don't know how shit gets better for the Dallas Cowboys. And for that reason, Dallas Cowboys, congratulations. You are ass out. And that's what I have for y'all, man. That's what I have for y'all. Again, I wanted to kind of keep shit in a timely fashion this week. So I do hope that you guys enjoyed the podcast. Huge week again in the divisional round for the NFL playoffs. What else, man? Great basketball being played every day. College basketball and NBA alike. So yeah, man, again, I appreciate you as always for being here. Follow us on socials at G2S Good Talk Pod, at Goodie and Two Shoes on Instagram, YouTube at the G2S Network, TikTok. Everything is the same as it pertains to that. The only thing that has changed is the YouTube. Again, that is the G2S Network. If you're watching on YouTube, I appreciate you, especially if you made it this far. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good shit. Let me know how you feel about certain topics that we touched on this week. And yeah, man, I will see you guys next week. I'm gonna let this song rock. But yeah, I'll see y'all next week. I appreciate you as always for being with me, spending time with me. I appreciate the love that y'all always show. We going up, baby. 2022 is our year. We going up. G2S the lifestyle, G2S the wave, G2S the motherfucking movement. Peace.
We used to movies and bowl. We used to Netflix and roll. I used to pass her the smoke. She used to laugh in my jaws. You pat my back when I choke. Wish we were stuck in our ways. We way too young to get old. We stuck together like ooh-outs. We smoked to fatty, sing zoo.